Dark humor. What do you think about when you hear the word dark humor? Is it possibly a self-deprecating joke? Maybe a joke about a child with no arms? Or perhaps dead babies, which was a very popular subject to joke about when I was in elementary school? Or maybe, to you personally, dark humor means making a joke about a marginalized group and defending it by saying it's a joke, and that if someone is offended by it, they're sensitive or a snowflake. So, of course, humor is subjective, and what I find funny, someone probably won't find it funny, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to find out if this twisted version of what dark humor has become in modern times is affecting younger generations. When you look it up on Google, it defines it as a style of comedy that makes light of subject matters that are generally considered taboo, particularly subjects that are normally considered serious or painful to discuss. With my personal experience, my dad is a man who I don't like, and the best thing he ever did was leave. But of course, my friends will say something, and I'll just be like, wish I had a dad. Jokes. Because coping with humor is normal, especially in younger generations. On Pipe Dream, an article called for younger generations, Dark Times call for dark humor, talk about how younger generations are more likely to use humor to cope. I mean, they even start the article off with examples they found from the beginning of COVID of jokes mainly Gen Z made on applications such as TikTok, just being like when airlines were cheaper, it was cheaper to get plane tickets, and everyone was like, about to get me a $12 flight. Now, while the idea of dark humor is not that far-fetched, I mean, even the idea of using humor to cope is really not that far-fetched. I mean, I have friends, and even me included, use it as a way to cope with things because that's what we know. And also, it's kind of funny. But it has been twisted into something that is not that nice. It's been used for people who want a excuse to be able to be, excuse me for the language, but bigoted assholes. These jokesters primarily use women, black people, trans, gay, and literally any marginalized group as the punchline. There was a TikToker who used non-binary people as the butt of the joke. The comments of people criticizing him said that a lot of transphobes literally make up scenarios to be transphobic. And it's so gross that someone so badly wants to bully someone who is just trying to live. Even on the early days of TikTok, the amount of dishwasher jokes and videos made were astounding. The entire trend was just being misogynistic. Like, that was the joke. The joke was calling women dishwashers and sandwich makers, and that they belonged in the kitchen. I know the whole old person joke is that kids are getting phones too young nowadays, but I truly think that that's true. And that's not me being mad for having a flip phone for 2 years that couldn't even take photos, but that's why there's like the whole like stigma and joke around like iPad kids. I mean, you have these children who have unmonitored access to the internet, and as one of those kids who was allowed on the internet unmonitored, most of the time it's not very good out there for young children. It is a wild west, especially on TikTok. Some of the stuff on there is just gross. Children are honestly like gross little sponges that absorb everything and are always listening and learning. Having all that access to the internet allows them to stumble upon these proclaimed dark humor lovers, which is, side note, gross, weird, why? And by seeing these jokes, they begin to not only think that making jokes like these are okay, because if you look at the comments, there's people being like, oh, the blizzards are coming, just saying like they're different for getting dark humor, and everybody wants to be different. These children will begin to like these dark humor jokes, and they'll just think they're okay. They'll not only begin thinking like these people who make these jokes, they'll also begin to make the jokes themselves and then literally be like, it's just a joke, you're literally just sensitive. But hate everyone who isn't a white, straight, cis man because they are never targeted in these dark jokes. since they usually are the ones making the jokes. But of course, not all white men, but from what I have seen, it is a larger majority of cis white straight men who make these offensive jokes. Overall, the unlimited access to the internet and the bigoted people allow for younger kids to learn and begin to believe these hurtful and harmful ideas. Okay. Overall, dark humor is a lot of repetition. It is a lot of the same jokes, whether repeated word for word or a few things changed up. I feel like there's 5 big things. It's kind of like the big amalgamation of what like kind of modern dark humor is. And a lot of these people, of course, not all of them, a lot of these jokesters don't really use dark humor to cope. They use offensive humor and being offensive disguised as quote unquote dark humor to be offensive. And so that's kind of, that's all my thoughts on dark humor, or at least reacting to those videos. It's really just being offensive to be offensive and to get a reaction out of somebody. So overall, those are my final thoughts. It's currently 3:09 in the morning, and I'm probably going to go to bed. So toodles to the next section of the video. So, ending thoughts is that many people, primarily men, use this dark humor as an excuse to be overall hateful, and with children's almost unlimited access to the internet nowadays, it allows them to find this content and begin believing and repeating these harmful stereotypes and ideas that will affect who they're friends with and future relationships. Think about the people that make these types of jokes. They usually stick with someone who believes the stuff that they believe and finds that sick humor funny. Okay, sick was not the best word. Let's do that again. Think about the people who make these types of jokes. They usually stick with the same people who also make those jokes and find it funny, even though it's usually not funny. Overall, what dark humor used to be, and it making, darker jokes that allow people to cope with what they've been through, has turned into something that allows people who have never experienced anything make fun of these people who have gone through horrible things because they think it's funny and they like to see a reaction. So those are my final thoughts on whatever.
Killer fish. Killer fish from San Diego. I don't know what I am, but I taste really good. I'm a killer fish. Hello. I'll be your killer fish for the evening. Thank you.